a wonderful Tuesday evening. Hope you guys are still coming off the high of last night. What a great conversation we had with Michelle Squared M1, M2. They continued their tour today, so they have a pretty rigid schedule to stay on. But tonight we have another guest. Why don't you help me welcome to the show? Well, he's an author, but he's also got a journey to tell that kind of focuses on what he's learned, his lessons, and the things he's kind of developed to help him sort of write this book. So I was about to give him away, not yet. Wait till we do the intro. So you guys know what to do. Come along, hop in. Hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties like we did last night. So fingers crossed. This is always live streaming. It's a gamble, but hey, that's like life. Nothing is ever guaranteed. So come on, guys, let's go. Alrighty, folks, we are live. Fingers crossed, things work tonight. I don't know why last night was one of those. It was just one of those nights. Things happen. So just like taking a cue from Miss Yolanda Chin there, if you're watching, head over to our YouTube channel at the Gabe Blue Experience. Also hit the notification bell. Subscribe to our channel over there. We are now over at the 1,000 subscribers and counting. So when you hit the notification bell, it'll let you know like whenever we are live, whenever we schedule our new lives, and whenever we drop new video content on the channel. So if you're on YouTube, thank you. And of course, we are, of course, on our other favorite platform on LinkedIn, where we have Miss Raquel Flores, Mr. James Kunkel, all the good people in the house already dropping in. Mr. Kenneth Dunner Jr., Mr. Randy. Yes, we are here. We're going to have a wonderful conversation. I'm excited for tonight. It's kind of, I don't know. This is how my life works. That sometimes things just flow very well. That I have like two authors that go back to back on a night. I didn't plan it this way. Like this is said, things just happen, and we just roll. We just go with the flow. So that's what we're gonna do here. So thank you, Mr. Enrique Acosta Gonzalez. We are here, and of course, before I go any further, I do have to make a quick mention. Again, I want to support all the awesome creators that are here. So if you guys want to go check out, again, Miss Michelle B. Griffin and Miss Michelle J. Raymond, they are launching their book this week. So they're making their tour around the world. Go check them out. Awesome people, loved having them on the show last night. So just want to give a little love for those who are here and they're showing up and putting themselves out there. So there we go. And of course, guys, as you can see what I'm wearing there on my hat here, we got our own Impro Media swag. So head over to www.mavensofmerch.com/Gabe Leal. Head over to the creators tab, and you can grab yourself some Impro Media swag. You can look so beautiful like I do with my hat on here. You can have that same hat. Now, you might not be able to pull off the look. Hello, Kimberly. Welcome to the show. We all love newbies in the house. So, yes, please head over there. go check it out. Grab you some merch. It's always good. So thank you again. And love to our design team that helped us with our design, the Inky Black team over there. Head over to www.inkyblack.design today to learn more. Let them help you figure out how to get your branding needs, logos done. They do an awesome job. So there you go. We are a big family here. Yes, Kimberly, welcome to joining in. And yes, please make her feel welcome in the chat, guys. Let them know what kind of love and support we have for all these wonderful individuals that show up here night in, night out. So give her a warm welcome. Help her welcome to the show. And real quick, again, if you're checking this out on LinkedIn, please do the same thing as I told you to do on our YouTube channel. Hit my notification bell to let you know whenever I schedule new events, drop any kind of post or anything on my profile page, and go follow me just because you can and I'm awesome. Go do it. Just do it that way. All right, now let's get started with this evening's guest. I love first of all that he took the moxie to not even say, you know what, I want to do just pull back the curtain a little bit. I usually do a couple of pre-show consultations with people to come on the show. Some people just want to feel the vibe and whether or not they, will fit in, I guess. And of course, after we have that conversation, I give them the invite. They usually do come on anyway. So it's always great whenever somebody says, you know what, skip all that. We're just going to go straight into it's like when they say we're just going to break out the meat and put it on the grill and we're going to have fun. So we're going to have fun tonight, guys. So please help me welcome to the show my guest. He is he's got a wonderful tale of how he has used his past experiences and early near-death experiences to kind of help shape his journey and a lot of the things that he's gone along in developing who he is and now what he does to help other individuals figure out how to do this for themselves. So he's also written a book, and we're going to get in that. We're going to get into that as well. But before we do, guys, please help me welcome to the show my friend. Hopefully he'll become your friend. He'll be all our friends by the end of the night. What can I say? Help me welcome Mr. Tom Broxham to the show. Hello, Tom. Let's give him a rouse of applause, first of all, before we even go any further. But welcome, man. How are you doing this evening? First of all, I got to, again, hats off for doing that, number one, right? Number two, and then he's tuning in he's tuning in live from New Zealand. So it's what, like 2 in the afternoon, somewhere, something like that?
Right on. It's 2 in the afternoon on Wednesday.
On a Wednesday, yeah. He's coming to us from the future, folks. How is the future looking over there, Tom? I gotta ask. It always just makes me laugh.
like ignoring my face, it is actually quite bright. I just look like a zombie half the time from being a dad.
Absolutely, and that's another thing that he does. He does share his, his journey as a father. I believe I watched a post the other day you did about when you were out with your son and he was sick, because that is like what real life is. I mean, that's the whole part about, like, even when we're doing what we're doing here and talking about networking and everything else, it's the personal side of people that I really have always enjoyed the opportunity to talk about. So I love that you do share that. So let's get you more familiar with our audience here. Why don't we tell everybody a little bit about you, Tom, and then we'll kind of dig a little bit deeper into your journey. If you just want to give a quick hello, how you doing to whoever's watching right now, let them know we got a few new people in the house, and I love it. So thank you for joining. And then anybody who's here, guys, you know what to do. Help them feel welcome and help Tom feel welcome as well.
This is one of the best introductions I've had. And like hearing Stone Temple Pilots play, I was like, oh, yes. Geez, I feel like I'm 15 again. Like, yes.
Absolutely. We always got to, hey, look, we here, this is why it's called Unfiltered Live. We bend, break, and reshape the rules of what's normal around here. So there you go. Yes, Dan, that's what we do need. He's got his hat to the back. I got it to the front. We just need someone with a hat to the side, and we have all our hat wearing proper positions covered. So, so tell everybody a little about yourself, Tom.
So, as you mentioned, like I'm living in New Zealand, but if you can't tell from the funny accent, I'm originally from Canada. I've been over in New Zealand now for 5 years. Was here
Wow.
for a year before. Met my now wife, which is why I'm here and not in Canada.
There you go.
Part of the reason why I decided, you know what, let's just go for it. Let's just drop right into it and not have the little bit of an intro before. Let's just go right into it. Is I help people start conversations, and so this is kind of what I do. And there's times where I might be meeting someone for the first time. I've got no idea how it's going to go, what we're going to talk about, but let's just go for it. Canada represent how I like
Yes.
that.
Yes. Dusty here is a fellow Canadian. She wears the flag well. So it's okay to share that around here. We do have a few others that tune in here from the from the was it I forgot what it's called. I can't Queen never mind. One of the Queen's colonies, that's what it is. But yes, I do love the fact that you have concentrated on doing this and you help people learn how to start conversations. So tell us a little bit more about like what that is for you, because for those who don't know, Tom does help people learn the kind of the art of networking, like how to build that out, like what that is for some people, because it can be very intimidating for people who've never actually taken the steps into reaching out and having a weird conversation with somebody they've never met in their life.
So what I like to say is I like to help people start conversations, and I like to remove the networking part because a lot of people are uncomfortable with that networking aspect of it. And when a lot of people think about networking, they only think about going to networking events, and they
Right.
don't realize that right now we're networking. It's about having a conversation. And they just think, well, it's about going to that networking event, getting a client, trying to find work. It's like, no, it's having conversations with people. Like, let's just remove everything else and just enjoy the conversation for what it is. And so, the two main areas that I help people with is on LinkedIn, starting conversations there, and then starting conversations at those networking events, which so many people find awful, don't want to be at, and avoid them like the plague, or they just go sit in the corner and talk to the people they already know instead of joining in on some of those conversations.
Right. And when you start, so what are some of the first things that you do when somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, this is I want to learn how to do this, but I don't know exactly where to start. Like, what are some of the processes and things that you use to help people get a little bit more, I guess, comfortable with it? Because it's again, I'm pretty sure it's in the beginning part of how that is. It's like anything; it feels uncomfortable and weird for some folks.
Well, and one of the things that I tell them is, look, you're actually networking right now. This is exactly what you're doing. And I'll is ask them like, what are your problems with networking? Or is it in person? Is it online? What are the struggles that you're having with it? Where exactly do you have those issues? But as soon as they find out, it's like, oh wait, we are networking now. Or they might tell me, oh, it's awkward to network. Well, that's great. Tell someone that you feel awkward, and they'll be like, "Oh, geez, it's not just me. Okay, you feel awkward too. This is fantastic." I was having a coffee with someone the other day. The first 15 minutes, all we did was talk about coffee, cheese scones, and cheesecake. Like,
Making
and,
each
and
other
that's all we were
hungry.
doing. And then we talked about that awkwardness, and I talked to someone else about the awkwardness, and they're like, "Well, what about those awkward silences or that small talk?" I'm like, "Well, if you don't want the small talk, just do something else. Talk about something else." But usually, I just talk to them about like what they're having the struggles with, and they'll tell me like what it is. And for me, it's always asking that open question and not just saying, "Do you like networking? What exactly is it that bothers you about it?"
Yeah.
And listening to what they have to say. too often we're more concerned with I just want to hear you talk, wait for my chance to talk so I can tell you what I think my opinion is. And
Mm,
if you give people that opportunity to talk, they'll tell you what's going on. And not just that, but you can learn so much from people when you actually give them that opportunity. But
mm,
too often we're not thinking about that. We're just thinking about what I have to say and what I want to give and what I want you to go and do, instead of having that chance of just stopping and thinking about it.
yeah. So, as you've done this and you kind of started crafting a career, what was the genesis to lead you into want to start doing this? Like, for those who don't know, and you do share it on your website, and I dropped the link in the event chat there. As you head over to www.tombroxham.com, you'll learn a little bit more about who he is and what his services are. But let's talk a little bit about that early journey that kind of shaped and helped, like, not only the event that made things in your life change, but then what you had to do to struggle through and learn how to persevere over it. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, first I'm going to have to do Dan Roth a favor and hey, do you have any Molsons, eh? And you have to drop the A bomb. So there actually is a reason for the A too. Like we Canadians, we turn a sentence into a question instead of just saying can like oh, it's a nice day. It's a nice day, eh? Now I just asked you a question and I want an answer.
There you go. Look, we're learning how to intermingle with the with our Canadian neighbors here in the States. So love it.
But so for me, it was really a couple of years. Well, it's been the last few years that I didn't want to just network. I wanted to learn how to network better. And I wanted people to come to my events to learn that, hey, you didn't have to just go to the events. You can over coffee is networking,
Yeah.
talking with your friends is networking, social media. There's so many other elements to networking. And so I really wanted them to understand that. But then I realized to get them to come to my event, I needed to make them feel more comfortable and more safe. It's like, well, how do I do that? And what else do I need to do to learn that? So uh, I decided that I want to get help from a speaker coach, and he helped to build me a program. But if I look back even further, I hated networking. And the reason
Mm,
why was what I've gone through in my life, being bullied, being judged. Even when I was working, I used to work in accounting. Oh, you're an accountant. I don't want to talk to you. You're boring. Can you do my taxes? You must be really good at math, and you'd get the same kind of thing. And when I wanted to leave the accounting world, all anybody saw was accountant, and that's what they want to pigeonhole me in. I'm like, no, no, no. There's so much more to it. But when I think about when I was in high school, I used to wear a heavy metal shirt. I was judged for that, and really, really horrendous things that were said to me and put towards me. But when I go back even further than that, when I was in elementary school, I was bullied every single day. And twice my bullies tried to drown me.
mm,
And when you're 9 years old and you're 13 years old and someone tries to drown you, like that's something that really sticks with you.
yeah.
Because when I go back to when I was 3, I did drown. My dad had to jump in the river and do CPR on me. So it was an event that happened, and then all of a sudden it gets concreted later on when my bullies did try to drown me again.
Mm,
And so you all of a sudden have trust issues with people, and you want to keep things in yourself, and you're like, how am I? And then when you become an adult, you're like, how am I supposed to trust people? How am I supposed to
mm,
start conversations? And when you're used to being bullied and told you're nothing and to get lost and shut up and everything else, you're like, now when you're an adult, you're like, oh, I need to walk into this event, tell people that they're going to give me this or they're going to give me that, or I want a job and, or let's have a conversation. You're like, uh, no, I want to protect my back. I want to protect myself. and it becomes really difficult. And so it's something that I had to spend a lifetime trying to overcome.
Mm,
But what happened for me was I started, like, once I got to college, I went and started doing presentations, loved it, had a lot of fun with it. Uh, Went with someone who was a master at it, and he taught me how to do presentations.
mm,
I got a little bit more comfortable. And it was something that I was like, Jesus, this isn't that bad. And I really started to thrive on that. Something that I was scared of. And now all of a sudden, this is all of the energy that I have, all the power that I have. I'm like, this is amazing. This is something I want to do. But I want to do more of it.
mm,
And then eventually, I I started traveling, went to a few places, but I was always missing out on something. And it was the water, being able to go into the water. I didn't I didn't want to. I had that fear.
mm,
And so I took lessons when I was in my 30s.
mm.
And then I remember the first night I went to the lesson, and the sign up was for like ages 12 and up. And I thought, oh, great. I'm going to
Oh,
go into this class. I'm going to be getting picked on by 12-year-olds
yeah.
because I don't know how to swim.
Yes.
And that's what I thought. And as I go into the swimming lesson,
Mm,
it's waist deep. So it's 3 feet deep. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to drown in a pool 3 feet deep. Like, I can't do this. This is terrible. I can't do it. And all he wanted to do that night is get us to put our hand under the or head under the water, and that was about it. After that, I just felt so much easier and so much more comfortable.
mm,
And then I kind of thought about so many other things that I do. And so whenever I go swimming, I always have to sit at the edge of the pool and just take a few moments
mm-hmm.
and breathe. And it's amazing how many times in our life, something we do all the time, but that's the key thing is just sitting there. And so I'll be sitting there for a moment trying to control any negative thoughts that are in my mind and just trying to relax.
Mm,
And then all of a sudden I'll catch the one right breath, and then I'll dive in. All of a sudden it's gone. It's just the excitement that's there, and then I'm excited, and it's fun to be in the water, and everything else goes away. And so every single one of my fears, that's what I really think about, and that's what I really try to do is is dive in towards it and chase it down. But it's amazing how many of them, once I go after the fear, it's not a fear anymore. It becomes a passion or it becomes excitement.
yeah.
And now swimming is something was a lifelong fear, and now I love snorkeling. Public speaking was something I hated doing because of being a kid and being bullied. And a lot of people have that fear. And now it's one of my biggest it's one of my biggest passions. It's one of my biggest strengths.
Yeah.
Uh, and networking now is something I didn't want to do, but now it's what I help other people with.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for being bullied the way I was, and if it wasn't for having to overcome the lifelong fear of water and being bullied, I might not have been able to help other people out the way I can help them out now. So at times I think back to how I was bullied and how I was treated, how I was judged, and that helps me to put perspectives into when I'm helping clients out.
Mm,
And this is also why at times I do things like jump on a call where I'm like, all right, let's just go live and see what happens. And I don't
yeah.
know what'll happen, but let's just go.
Let's just go. Hey, but that's the thing about it though, is like once you learn how to move past those fears, um, your world opens up to so many different things. Like I tell people all the time, I equate it to this for people who simply want to understand what that is. Like during that whole time that you have that fear, you're seeing everything in black and white. The moment that you step past that, everything starts turning to color. You start seeing everything a little bit more vibrant. You start seeing everything that stands out simply because you were able to do that. It's like that filter just comes off, and there you are, and the rest of the world is never the same because you've been able to move past that. I mean, for me, I did this a few weeks ago as well. I went and publicly spoke. I've talked about it for months, on years, not months, years, until I finally went and did it, and everything changed. My perspective on how everything that I looked at simply changed, and it was simply doing something like that that moved me past that. However big that mountain, however that big that rock was, like moving past that has changed everything in my life. And then you start doing things like what you're doing, like where you start now saying, I learned how, and I want to help others learn how, because you felt the exhilaration of what that is. Like the moment you dipped your head down in the water, how did that, like you just said, how it made you feel, right? Like
It,
everything, you
it,
know.
it was amazing. Like that first time putting my head under the water, and like I'm sitting there thinking, this is like, it, I'm 6 feet and this is 3 feet of water. I'm like, geez,
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna drown. I'm gonna drown. And I'm sitting there forever just thinking like, "Could you just do it." And then as soon as I went and did it, I was like, "What's the problem? Like, why am I so scared of this?" 2 weeks later on, when we were in lessons, I was now mad at myself for not being a better swimmer. So I went from lifelong fear to being like, "Why can't I do this? I'm terrible." I think about 2 months
Yes.
later on, I was doing so many laps, although my lap might take 5 minutes to do. I I got an arm injury and I was like, "Oh, this is the best injury I've ever had." And I was so excited for having an injury from swimming.
Yes. But again, once you start doing that, though, you do reflect back on all the other times that, like, whatever that was held you back. Like, and you got to go, oh my gosh, waiting so long to move past something like that. It's like, look, great. It's, it's thing is to not reflect too much back on it once you've gotten there. I know you want to, want to beat ourselves up because we know now, but it's also the excitement of the future and what lies ahead once you've done it, like what that is, like all the other stuff. And then you go back to it. Then you have an experience to go back to, especially like something that we went through, because you were long stem trauma with not only drowning at 3 years old, but then having it done to you again intentionally. And it sort of, even at 3, it subconsciously sticks there. And then it kind of just instantaneously triggered you back to that moment and what that was, to now having to go into an adulthood and figuring out all this all over again. But like I said, the great thing about it, though, is once you have, like, anything else that stands in your way, you're like, if I was able to do that, I'm damn sure can get past doing this. And that's the most amazing thing about what you do and help others. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit, because what I also want to talk about is like taking like a lot of these experiences and things that you've done and started putting it together, and you wrote a book. Like, what was that like, um when you decided to, like, put all this together and sit down and actually collect all your thoughts, how you were going to put everything together and just start writing a book? Because it's not something somebody just picks up one day and says, I'm going to write a book today, you know?
It, it it's funny because I had a couple of years ago I started writing one book, and that book is was sitting on the shelf until about 6 months ago. But the first one that I put out was a LinkedIn book, and it was because I spent a lot of time on the platform,
Mm-hmm.
love the platform, and there's a lot that I've learned from it. And so it was about helping other people out and sharing the knowledge that I have from it. And so it's funny because it was the second book that I started writing, but it ended up becoming the first book that I've finished. And I was like, all right, I want this done. I want to see what the experience is like. I want to be able to say, hey, I've written a book, and then use that to be able to build upon the second book that I want to write. But it was it came together quick too. Like I started doing it for some of my content and for this and for that, and then I just started writing all these different ideas that I had down. And I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? How do I help people? And when you're first coming on, what are you looking for? What do you need to do? And what's funny too is probably one of the first things that came up from it was the title. And
Mm.
so the title is hashtag no phonies allowed. And I remember putting that into a post months and months ago, but nobody knew what it was about. And then eventually I told people, yeah, the book, the title's been, you've been looking at the title for the last 6 months.
And
But for me, the title was about how I like to help people out on LinkedIn and when it comes to networking as well too. And it's all about building those conversations. Some people that when they come onto LinkedIn, they just want to connect with as many thousands of people as they can without actually stopping to have that conversation.
yeah,
And so for me, this was important to put this first book out because it's how I help people. Like one of the ways I help people from building that bridge from, all right, I see your post, I connect with you on the post, I comment on your post, and now we're getting into a conversation. I'm sending you a message. Maybe we're having a meeting, but it's that building bridge. Okay, you don't like networking? Let's start small with that.
yeah.
And that was a lot of it for me is being able to, all right, you don't want to just go to that coffee with someone right away? Start here. Start small and spend 10, 15 minutes just engaging with other people and building up your community that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything for me was just about helping people to get started with LinkedIn before we can move on to the heavier topics of it.
Yeah, and and to go into that real quick is like for those who've like again, I recall like me starting out the idea of when I was just doing this show here, like being even intimidated to go, hey, I want to like be able to have these like really great in-depth conversations, but then also like to understand like how we can actually connect and vibe. So it was like I felt like I needed to have those conversations before I even brought somebody on the show when I first started because I felt like that's how I was going to be able to pick up on a vibe or pick up on certain idiosyncrasies or things that I could learn from that individual that would help me develop more as a host and as an interviewer. So but they felt strange at first. Like it's like your first time you're like, "Hi, like what do you
Yeah.
like how to start that?" Like now when I jump into those it's like I got 15 minutes. How you doing? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's get started because, I might have some of them sometimes back to back. Um but that's the whole thing about it. Yes, Sia, I know. Sauce is burning. I know this is your cooking time, but I'm sorry. But hey, thank you so much for tuning in while you're still here. So, and my tagline for you, like I always see ya, is hello, goodbye, and see ya. So, you gotta leave, go right ahead. But to the point though of like when you start building out and doing networking, like really intently spending time networking, those first few like conversations like that are always the ones that are that's why I said I can recall them. Like the other, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, however many I've had since then, I can't really recollect. But I do remember like the first two or three times that I did it and who they were with
Yeah.
because those were like really ingrained like learning lessons, like how to actually start a conversation with somebody. I was not the very best at doing this. And yeah, you know what? It took probably tens of thousand hours to get to a point where I can and then feel comfortable with helping other people like learn how to do that. But it's a skill set you got to go put in the time investment to learn how to do. And nobody's really good at doing it when they start. I mean, it's you're gonna suck. Just
Yeah, and you have to accept that. Like you're gonna suck, and that's fine. It's that. All right, this is gonna be terrible. It's gonna be miserable, but you have to get started somehow, or sometime, right?
yes. But when some, but at least you take this. That's the thing I talk about it though, and I'm pretty sure you tell people as well. At least you're taking the action steps to do that, to like get yourself out there because there are some people that won't for whatever reason. maybe like you said, they like kind of like with you, that there's a trauma or there's something that's like blocking them from wanting to do this. Um, but in so many ways, it starts doing things for you, starts opening doors. It starts, you know, sometimes you find out you have very strong commonalities with people, and you just connect with somebody, and it's like, what do you do? What do? I do this. And then, oh my God, I do this, but and it just starts talking. And sometimes those conversations just flow so naturally, but you never know if you're going to have them if you don't take the opportunity to, like, say when somebody says, let's jump on a call,
And
right?
like what people undervalue is what sets someone soul on fire or what really pisses them off. You want to get some good conversations? Find out about those two topics. So when I still lived in Calgary, Alberta, I spent a lot of time hiking in the mountains, and I would always go with an outdoor club. So what would happen is you would meet up in the parking lot, you'd have a little bit of a chat, and now you're driving for the next 2 hours. And so what would happen is you're in the car, you're talking about where you've gone, where you want to go, the hikes that you've done recently. And then eventually you talk about the things that you do for work. And then you spend 6, 8, 10 hours on the hike. Then you go for supper that night, and you go for a drive back. But like, this is networking on steroids. You talk about everything, you know. But because you're passionate about that, it's easier to start the conversations.
Yes.
Now, when I knew I was going to be a stay-at-home dad, I joined a Facebook group for stay-at-home dads, Australia, and New Zealand. I made a post in there. As soon as I made a post, one of the local guys said, "Oh, you need to join my local stay-at-home dads group." As soon as I joined that one, made a post, people were like, "Oh, wait, you live in the same city as me. We got to go and connect." And then next thing I know, I find myself in business meetings with some of the very people that I met through there. And it didn't start out with looking for business. It didn't start out looking for work. It just was, hey, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I want to make sure I have someone else to talk to, and that was it. And that's how relationships build. And people are always look at it from the other way, where they're like, no, no, I need to get that client, I need to get the work.
Mm.
But you need to think about it from have that personal conversation and build from there.
Right. It's the approach of building the relationship first, like,
Yeah.
and establishing what that is between two individuals, and just seeing how that can. Again, it might not lead to anything right off the bat, but it might be a seed that you plant somewhere down the line that, you know, you're again, you're connecting with somebody, you're networking with somebody, and then somebody else knows that person, and then down the line they're like, I know the perfect person. Tom,
Yeah.
and reach out with Tom, and like, let me connect you with Tom. You guys are gonna like really hit it off, and then that starts those things like that, man. But it's because you allow those opportunities and those floodgates to open. That's why I say, for a lot of people who don't know, like, those seeds that you plant, they sometimes don't flourish right away. It could be 6 months down the road, but you've planted it though, and sometimes those things are beneficial somewhere down the road. So it's not about instantly just getting impact from it all, but those things though can continue to be, um, those things can be huge for you, especially when you never know um, how life is ever gonna turn out. So those things that really, they might show up when you need them the most. Like, for whatever reason, hey, I just lost my job. Oh, Tom, listen, I know somebody who's hiring. Like, those things that you do that reach out. And that's the whole part about what all of this really is, and how, as we, again, excuse me, um, how we create, how we share, how we build, it all starts with, even being on this platform, it all starts with networking, and how this platform is built for it. And I don't know how many probably opportunities, um, that has happened, and things that have come out of it because you network. And it's not just, like you said a little bit earlier, not just network, but conversations. I like that more in terms of what that is. So, real quick before we start wrapping things up, Tom, but like, what are some of the things that you give to, or advice that you give to people who say have started this process, but yet are struggling with like how to maximize it? Because like you said, it's sometimes it's great to start the effort, but then some people again hit walls. They stumble. They don't know exactly what they're doing. So it's always good to reach out to somebody who's has done it before, is coaching or help people do this. So, like, what would the advice you give to a few individuals who are like, hey, I like networking. I'm not really good at it. Um, but what are some of your best tips that you give to people in learning just how to reach out to somebody and opening up the doors to a conversation?
One of the things is, what's your why? Why are you doing it? Like, are you trying to find? Are you trying to find work? And so if you don't know your why, you struggle. So some people will come up to me be like, "Yeah, I want to have a chat with you." They have no idea why, and they're like, I'm just having a chat." I'm like, "Well, uh, I don't know. Like, what is it that I can help you with?" And like, if someone says, "Oh, I'm looking for work," what work are you looking for? And if they don't know what work they're looking for, it's going to be a struggle. So you need to know your why, because we know this is why I want to connect with people. And let's say I want to work in accounting and I want to work in accounting in New Zealand. Okay, now someone can really help you out. And now you can start to figure out your targets. You can figure out your ask. So there's so much more that you can figure out compared to just, I need to connect because I need to find work. Now
Mm,
you have the ask of just, I need to find work, but now you have the ask of, I'm looking for an accounting firm that's in New Zealand. Okay, now I can help you out with that.
mm,
Uh, and then that will- with your targets. Now, one of the things that you should do is write down every person that you know that you can think of. And it doesn't matter whether this is your hairdresser, your plumber, yeah, your banker, your coworkers, your boss, write them all down. And now write down what these people do and the relationship that you have with it, whether it's a strong or it's a weak relationship. This is going to help you out a little bit more because so many people forget how many people they know and when the last time when it was that they talked to them. So what I see on LinkedIn often is these networking parties where they try to connect with 100 or 200 new people every single week, but they've never had a conversation with them. And if you
mm.
think back to the people that you know, when was the last time you talked to them and how many people do they know? So one of the books that I like and that I have is How to Be a Power Connector by Judy Robinette. And she talks a lot about the power of 150. So write down 150 people, 150 people that you know. And a lot of people are going to struggle with this and they'll be like, oh, geez, I don't know. But you start writing that down. And then if you think about this, I could try to connect with 22,000 people. That's really hard to do. Like,
Yeah.
who's got that kind of time? Instead, I can connect with 150 people, get really good, strong relationships with those 150 people. If each one of those has a connection of 150, now we're at 22,500 connections with only connecting to
Mm,
150
150.
people,
Right.
right?
Mm,
And so if I connect with all of them and then over time I go back to them because now they've met someone new, that might be the very person that I need to connect with. And it might not be the first person you talk to. It might be the person that you're talking to now, the person that they know who can make the introduction for the person that will be a client or that will get you that job. And
mm.
so it's important to think about your why, write down the people you know and the targets that you have.
There you go,
What
man.
that way it can lead you to your ask.
There you go. That's how you do it, man. Thank you for breaking that down. And then, of course, thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate, again, we just did this blind, folks, and that's how good sometimes these conversations can just flow. And if that's the experience here, then, a lot of you guys can have that same experience as well. Like, you don't have to know this individual, but reach out to them. I mean, like, look, somebody put an ask out here. Um, Kimberly asked, can I put this out there? I want to do my first LinkedIn Live. Is anyone here willing to be my guest? You know what, Kimberly, you have the king of LinkedIn Live saying, I will go on live with you. You say when, where, we'll put it together, and we will just have that conversation and make it happen. But I love it though. This is how this platform is so unique from anything else that I've ever been on, and I've been on all the socials. You can't tell me I haven't been on anyone. I've tried them all. And by far, this one has been the best for not only any kind of business, but then just people in general and relationships. So it's why I push people to come here to this platform. When I get to know them, they're like, "You're on LinkedIn? What's on LinkedIn? Yeah, I get a job." No, it's a lot more. So you just go explore it a little bit, and you'll actually understand the fun, the magic, and everything else that kind of goes behind that. So, all right, Tom. Before we get out of here, though, real quick, um, where can people go find the book? And again, I will direct people. You can also go to the website www.tombroxham.com to learn a little bit more about his services and what he does. If you want to learn a little bit more in depth of what Tom is and who he is and what he can do for you.
Well, Gabe, thanks for having me on the show. It's been fantastic to chat, and time just flies by so quickly. Uh,
It does. It does. And that's the fun part about what I get to do in these shows. I tell people it'll probably be the fastest 45 minutes you've ever experienced. And these conversations can flow on for hours, but that's what this is. And this
yeah.
is, the people that show up here night in, night out. It's a wonderful crowd. And I love that it's continued to grow and expand, and I always love new people who want to come in and hang out in the community. This is how it's fun, and it helps individuals do exactly what we talked about tonight. Network.
Yeah.
This is what I'm all about, and this is all about engagement. So, all right, Tom, sit tight real quick. Everybody else, we will be back tomorrow evening, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. We have another talk, Gabe. We got another wonderful guest lined up for you guys. Oh, there we go. Let's a little bit. Tomorrow evening, we will be joined by my friend. I've been on his show, but he's never been on this show. We're going to give him a good rousing as he comes in here. My friend, Mr. Enrique Acosta Gonzalez, will be here on the show tomorrow evening. So tune in, guys. 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, as always. And as again, I say, I am totally grateful for everyone who shows up here every single night, night in, night out, even if you're just jumping in to say hello for 60 seconds, like our great friend Sia. It's always wonderful to see everybody here every single night, and I am so appreciative of all of you. So until tomorrow evening, guys, you know how we go. Be well, stay well, live, love, and serve like no one else, and you will change the world around you. So until tomorrow evening, good night, everybody.